Hi, everyone. Not sure you can see me and hear me, so maybe just let me know in the chat if you can see my face. Okay. Some people found the emojis. Perfect. Okay. Thanks for your confirmations. I can see some familiar names. Hi, guys. Other people I'm going to get introduced in a few seconds. Okay, we'll wait a couple more minutes just to make sure that everybody can get in, and then we'll get started. So it is time to go get some water or other kind of drink of your choice. It's not time for a beer quite yet here in Belgium, so I'll wait a bit. I have my water. So I can't see you, I can't hear you. I can maybe invite someone on the stage if needed a bit later. But it should not be necessary. Yeah, and I can see that each and every one of you can find quite easily the chat. If not, it's on the right down corner of your screen. I guess I'm using Livestorm on Chrome, so it might be different on your browser. So for the new people coming in, hi. Bottom right corner in Edge. Thank you, Wendy. I think it was the same in Firefox, so you should find it. We'll just get a quick tour of the platform for everyone to get acquainted with it in a few minutes. And in the meantime, I'll just grab my PowerPoint presentation because there is always one, right? So if you still need to go and get something to drink or change clothes to be more comfortable, please do so. We'll get started in a minute or two. No, I can't see you, Olivera. Hi. I can see no one. That's the reason why I always say when I just organize some webinar like this through Livestorm, just get really comfy. You could be in your couch, you could be even in your bed, maybe, who knows? So just, yeah. Asking because of the drink, yeah. Right. Yeah, nobody's judging here anyway. I mean, we're all translators and interpreters working from home mostly all the time. So, hi, Rebecca, who's in Trinidad and Tobago, which is quite a nice place. Okay, I guess we can get started now. So I think everyone found the way to the chat. That should be in the bottom right corner of your screen. Then you can see that there is a section that is called questions, just at the left of it, supposedly. So if you have any questions, since there is no way for me to hear you or to see your face, completely puzzled when I say something, feel free to just type your questions in right there. And then whenever I just take a break or ask you to I don't know, share something or speak through the chat, I can go and check quite quickly if I've lost anyone. And then, well, you have the basic buttons to control your interventions and your life in a virtual room like this one. So you should be able maybe to have some reaction. I'm not sure of it I think on your site you have some. You can pull the screen on full screen. You can leave the room if you have to. So if you made it live, that's great. If you did not, that's great also, if you're watching the recording. So if you're live right here, right now, and have to leave, don't worry about that. You're really welcome to do so. You'll get the recording anyway, so don't worry about that. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen. Not sure I can do it. Theoretically, I should be able to. I haven't used this tool in quite a long time, so I have my share screen. Yes. My system has to say that it is all right to share the screen. I hope I won't have to restart it. Maybe not. Let me see. I have my screen right here. Yes, it works for this particular screen. Let's see if it works for the other one. Yep. I'll share my whole screen maybe and switch to this. Oh, sorry guys, I can see that it doesn't seem to work. Maybe you'll have to see my face the whole time. I'm sorry about that. We'll see if I can find any kind of solution about that. Okay, let's start and I'll see if when you have to react about something, I can just change my settings and then come back from another room. Okay, so hi everyone. If we never had the chance to meet, I'm Anne-Sophie de Klerk. I'm an English and Spanish into French creative and literary translator. But I'm not here today as a translator. I'm here today as an LSP expert ambassador, as we call it, which means that I'm the person in the team who organizes and just gets crazy on webinars. Maybe we've also met through some guidance session. We met, I don't know, during an event, live or like this one. So basically just to make sure that you know everybody in the team, there is 4 of us. So I think you might have interacted already with Caroline and Cédric, who are the co-founders of LSP.expert. They created it just because Caroline was going crazy with translation management tools, and she wanted a new one. And Cédric, who's her husband, who's a programmer, decided, well, I just might do something about that. He created something, then another thing, and then we got to LSP.expert, which is the tool that maybe you already use, maybe you do not. So could you just let me know in the chat if you are already a user and if you are a translator, an interpreter, both or none? It might be useful just to orient what I'm going to say after that. So Caroline, she's a translator, already using LSP. I guess most of us will be. Okay. Lots of translators, okay. Desiree is a big fan of LSP. Brilliant, thank you. Erin is doing a bit of everything, user, translator, editor, copywriter, blah, blah, blah. Aren't we all? And Nick is an administrator for a translation company, but used to be a translator. Good one. Always better to manage a translation company when you have been a translator, I think. Translator and user. Christelle, bonjour, is a happy user of LSP.expert. Brilliant. Okay, so most of us are, I think, hi Gavrilo, are translators, not a lot of interpreters, already users of LSP. Okay, so the idea today is to share with you some tips and tricks that might be useful in LSP.expert that maybe you don't know yet, or you've started using some functionalities, but it's not just the way you thought it would be, and you could use them for something else. But we'll get started just by chatting a bit about this famous spring clean. and why I wanted to talk to you about that. So if you've already been in a webinar like this with me, you know, I like to know who you are, what you do, what you think, just so that I don't feel too alone right here in front of my screen, as I usually do when I translate, but it's okay. So basically, what is a big spring cleaning? Well, we all do this, or we all have been confronted to the idea of the big spring clean, just because in the, I don't know, the conscious, well, in the mind of the society, we're supposed to clean everything out one time a year to make sure that we get a good new start at everything. So I just wanted to know what you think about spring cleaning your business. So basically, why are you here? Because I guess if you're here, you're interested in the thing. So could you just go back to the chat and let me know? I can see Alan is typing, Nora's typing, Wendy's typing, everybody's typing. That's brilliant. In the meantime, I'm trying to go to my Google Drive to make sure that I can show you my presentation, because if not, some of you might get lost. Not in translation, but in webinar session. Okay, quite a few reply coming in already. Okay, so Caroline would like to know how to attach suppliers to a job. I'll show you that because it can be useful. Olivia that says everything needs to go out. Yeah, that's spring cleaning. Different ways to use a tool, be more efficient. Yes. So Noura, I'm not sure what you're asking. Is the webinar running? It is. You should see my face and hear me. If so, it works. And if you can't see a PowerPoint presentation or anything, that's my fault. I did not configure my web browser correctly, so it is a bit delayed, but it's coming our way. Sorry about that. Okay. Haven't read the documentation. Yeah, nobody reads the documentation, Erin. Don't worry about that. Just curious to use. Yeah, learn a few tips. Start analyzing earning by clients, etc. Fiona. Yeah, that's the kind of thing we're going to do. Areas of LSP you should be using. Yes. Tips and tricks to make better use of LSP. That's what I always try and do when I just lead a webinar. Elskovat says you can always learn something new, I guess. Yes, you can. Okay, archiving feature, we're going to see it. Trying to get organized, Rania, that's brilliant. Well, just as a confidence, we all try and be more organized. It's not at the all the time, but that's the reason why I like to give, well, those webinars. So for those of you who have already seen one of my webinars, usually the angle I take is that to be a happy translator, you should be a happy person. Take more time for yourself than for your work, even if it makes you happy. And so just make your life easier. So that's always good. Perfect. Some people want to know about accounting and reports and some things like that. Yeah. And Sarah just started using LSP in December, so welcome. And uses it to invoice and track her time, which is basically almost always the case, I guess. Just because that's the big thing that changed my life as a translator when I started using LSP.expert. So I guess, yeah, that's how it works. Okay, so this big spring clean that we do in our house, I think it's always a nice thing to do also in our business. We are quite used to the idea of yearly reviews at the end of the year, just before starting a fresh new year. But we have so many occasions, different occasions, to review what we are doing and to make sure that we are still in line with what we want to do as translators and interpreters or any other line of business you might be in. And it is really important to make sure that we're doing well and that we are happy in our business. So how does it work? Well, when you spring clean, I guess I'm going to share my screen this way with you. It'll be less nice, but let's see if it works. Really sorry again. Yep. I hope this one will work. Okay. Can you see my screen now? You should see something like spring clean. Perfect. I can see some little hands with a thumb up. Perfect. So we go through it like this, okay? Just so you can see our faces, this is Caroline, this is Cédric, this is Evalena, and this is me. You can see my face right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is see why it's interesting to spring clean in our business, when we should do it, what we should do exactly, and how we should proceed, okay? So we've been through this, but let's start again here. We need clarity in all businesses. So just as I said, we have many opportunities to do so. Usually we do it at the end of the year, but I think spring is a really good time to do so. Just because I don't know about you, but usually, personally, I feel a bit down during winter time. I need to sleep more. I nap every day, but I take longer naps. I need to do less of interactions with my clients and my colleagues. I like to work alone. I like to work slow. I don't like to be really stressed out about anything. But whenever we come back to springtime and really summertime, I feel more energized and I feel like I can do more, in fact. I don't know if it's your case, but it's mine. So it is a good time for me to get some clarity because at the end of the year, usually I'm quite, I might say, negative. I might not be that optimistic. I feel tired. So I'm like, I don't really like this project, even if it's really interesting. So usually a bit after the beginning of spring is a great time to get clear on what I've done, what I want to do, whom I have worked with, whom I want to work with, what I've been good at, and what I might do better. Okay. So I do this usually in my office, so physically, because my office maybe at that time of the year looks a bit like this, which is not that nice. And I'm usually better at working when it looks like this. Okay, so let me know if you have maybe someplace in your office that looks like this, so I don't feel too alone in my messiness. So in spring, I like to just make sure that everything looks clearer physically, but also in my mind and in my way of working. Because if we are here, usually it's because we're passionate about what we're doing. Being a translator or an interpreter or any kind of business in the line of writing, reading, copywriting, this kind of things is not that easy. If we could get millions of dollars doing something easy, I don't think we would be here. So yeah, we've been led here by passion, but we start maybe sometime in our career like this really little happy balloon, and then with time we get like this. And no, I still can't see your face, I still can't see your office, but I guess like me, you're the messy office and the not so happy balloon at sometimes in the year. Okay, so we'll try to just do something about it by gaining clarity on what we do. And something we tend to forget is that we work for people and with people. I don't know about you, but my clients are humans. I still don't work with machines right now. That could happen in the future, maybe nearer than we think, but it's okay. And I work also with other people because I collaborate with quite a lot of colleagues now, not only just because I just send them the work I can do, but just because really I love having another set of eyes on the same text as I, just to make sure that I didn't miss anything, that my style is okay, that my text will be received well, etc., etc. So I just chose this illustration about share love and not hate, because we're not in this business to make people unhappy, nor us unhappy. So it might be better to work with people we appreciate, and to work for people we appreciate too. Okay. So the idea is that you keep on growing as a business and as a person as you want to grow. I would never want to have a really big business. I'm quite small. I like to stay small. But my idea of growing is to keep on learning and keep on honing my skills. Because we're like, for me, we're workmen and work women. We just have a craft, which is using language. And yeah, we need time, we need energy to do so. And again, we need clarity. If you're drinking something like really alcoholic and want to make a shot game or something like that, just count on the times I'm going to say clarity. Okay, just a tip for the professionals. Okay, so when should we do it? Just as I said before, usually we do it at the end of the year. We do a really thorough screen to make sure that we get a fresh start with a fresh new year. But every day could be a fresh new year. It depends on when you start counting, right? So the idea is that this big spring cleaning, you shouldn't be just doing once a year, maybe twice a year, maybe more. But just like in your house, I guess maybe once a year, maybe less. Confidence, I do less. I'll do a really big cleaning of everything, and I just scrap up everything and make sure that each and every little corner is clean, the cleanest in the house. But really, cleaning is not really my thing. So it's not something I like to do. But something I do usually is that I won't start with a really blank slate. There is something everywhere all the time because I live in my house, okay? But I try and make sure that each and every day I won't leave all my dishes in the sink. I won't just leave my laundry anywhere. I just make my bed and things like that, okay? So really a clean slate, it's impossible, except if you are really at the start of your career or if you just moved into a new house, which is already filled with things, I guess. Okay, so no really blank slate, completely free of everything, but quite a lot to do each and every day, a little bit. Okay, so what should you spring clean? Meaning, what should you pay attention to when you get onto this big time clearing everything out? For me, two different things. Well, two different sides of things. First, it should be physical. So it could be your computer, it could be your environment, it could be just, I don't know, cleaning. I'm looking around in my office if you can see my face right now. It could be cleaning maybe the windows. They might need it. It could give me more light, so it could be nice. But just cleaning physically is not enough. You need to clean the inside of your computer. You need to also clean maybe your mind. So for me, you should aim to get a clearer workspace and a clearer headspace. I can't work with you on everything. So we're going to focus today on how to fresh clean your LSP.expert, which is supposedly your main translation management system. And I hope after that, you'll get a clearer view on everything that is involved in your business. Okay. So clear your office, your management system. I put it in plural because maybe you have some. And I also put here your schedule. It seems stupid, but we can have schedules really crammed up with things that are not essential to us or to our business. And it's a shame because what you make space for is really important. And I'll come back to that later. So at this stage of, well, the year of the presentation, you might be like, well, it's all nice to want to clear everything out, to wipe out everything and to get a fresh start, but how the hell do you do it? That's a really good question. I don't have all the answers. Today, I'm just going to give you some suggestions about how we can do it. First of all, what is the most important for me is to know where you are right now. It's just like when you need to clean your house. If you don't know where to start, what to keep, what is really useful in your home, it's quite hard to clean everything up. Okay. If you had no place to put your laundry, if you had no place to put your dishes, well, you would have a messy house all the time. Just to get clear right here, again, messy might be your thing, and it's quite all right. I'll never have a really clean office. I'll never have like a desk where there is nothing on. I have a pile of things right on my left. It's things I use, okay? It's papers I need. I know they're here. I know some colleagues have really prepped up spaces with, I don't know, yeah, a place for everything. That's not the way I work, okay? So here is some advice from a messy person about how to clean up and how to make sure you have a clear space. So just take that into account, okay? Okay, so first of all, what we need to do is to review. And to review your business right here with LSP.expert, that's great because you have the right tool to do it. So what should you review? Personally, when I do my little reviews during the year, I review the jobs I have done. I also try and review my clients just to make sure that my list is still up to date, that I have all the current data for my clients, that I remember who's who, because sometimes you have worked with people not a lot for a long time. You're like, who was this person? So I have to just make sure I remember. And I try also to clean up my set of partners, I like to call them, because it's not just my suppliers. So right here is the fake account I use for demonstrations, but in my real account, which I won't share for obvious, security reasons and privacy reasons, I have in my list of suppliers not only the people I work with when I translate something or write text. I also have my accountant. I also have the people I work with for insurance companies and things like that. I have a whole list of different people and not just suppliers. So this you can do right now. You can go to your LSP expert account and just get a view of everything you have there. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do so. I'm just going to read the comments. Yeah. So at least two messy people in the room with us right now. Hi, Erin. Hi, Caroline. So just go through your list of jobs, clients, and suppliers. And you could also check your list of expenses. And just try and see if it seems organized, if it looks like you have too much information here, if you can remember almost everyone. So if you're a translator like me, it's quite easy. If you are an LSP, it can be harder. Also because you have people managing some accounts. I can see Yosra's typing. Yosra's blank, because I guess you don't have projects yet. Teresa, unfortunately, I have a job starting in 10 minutes. Sure, you'll get the recording anyway. Welcome. Okay, can you still hear me? I got like an alert on my screen. Okay, perfect. If you can still hear me, it's okay. All right. So if you got through your list, you might see that you have some more information than you wish, maybe something you don't really need to see right now. Rebecca says the main things we are checking is list of suppliers, expenses, and what else? Yeah, suppliers, expenses, your jobs, and your clients. Just make a quick review of that. Thanks for the mic confirmation. And we'll get to the reports then, so don't worry about that. Okay, so just checking your screens like this. So just your list of suppliers, sorry, your list of clients, your list of jobs. You might already have an idea of what is good, what is not really good, what you like, what you don't really like, what is good for your business, what is not really good for your business, okay? Which kind of people you still want to work with, which kind of people you don't really want to work with, which kind of services you provide, which kind of services you'd like not to keep on providing, okay? So how can you go more granular on that and have more information? Well, by using the report section, okay? So if you have never used it, you can see it right there on your screen, and you have access to a list of various options that I think are quite interesting for any translator interpreter using it, even more for the LSPs in the room. So you can see that you have a whole lot of different reports, okay? We won't go through all of them. We're gonna really focus on your sales by services and quantity by service, your performance, sales by clients and quantity by clients, your profitability by clients, and also maybe your expenses in quantity by supplier and your expenses. Okay, we're not gonna chat today about the exchange rate, loss gain, not the tax summary, not the turnover, even if they can be really interesting. And I guess your monthly sales and turnover, profit and loss can be just interesting to have a really big view on how you're doing. So if you have not really used them already, sorry, let me just share another part of my screen, and we're going to go through some of those reports, okay? Has someone here never used the reports? Just let me know, so I'll go a bit slowly. And I'll just share my other screen. Okay, you can see my personal screen now. Okay. So yours never have, Daniela, Alan. Yeah, okay, perfect. So I'm gonna just make sure you guys can understand what it is about. But if you have a really clean LSP.expert account, meaning you don't have any jobs in there, you don't have any clients, any numbers, of course, LSP can't compute anything. So there will be nothing in your reports right now. Okay, so you can just follow on my screen and just see how it works. If, on the other hand, you have already used LSP.expert and you have some data in there, feel free to just go with me. So maybe just put me just on one little side of your screen so you can still keep on seeing where I'm going. But I'm going to try and guide you through this particular setting. Okay. So for those not familiar with LSP.expert, you have a list of projects. This is the default main page of your program. You have a list of your clients. You have a list of your suppliers. You have a list of all your quotes. We're not going to dive into this either today. You have a list of your invoices, a list of your expenses, and a list of your purchase orders. And then with all the data that is contained inside the job, people, quotes, and accounting lists, you'll get some nice reports. The one that is the mostly used by our users is the monthly sales, which is going to show you from the start of the year how well you have performed from month to month. And you can compare it to another year or not. You can just search by currency, by client labels, by job label or invoice label, and you could also convert into your currency. So this is a really great overview of your year, just to know how much income you've got. The turnover or profit and loss can also be interesting, because then with the profit and loss, you can compare with another year again and see how much you have gone money out of your business, how much you've got into your business, etc., etc. Okay, so we're going to focus today on the sales by services and quantity, sales by client quantity, and expenses and quantity by supplier, plus maybe the expenses. Why those areas? Well, because I think as a business, you should be aware of how well you're performing in the services you provide, if they are interesting to your clients, if your clients pay well, if your suppliers are well paid so that they want to keep on working with you, and if you're quite good at what you're doing. So let's start with maybe the sales by services. So feel free to keep on asking questions through the chat if needed. Okay. So if I go to the sales by services, and in my cut a bit, I'm going to try and connect to my other link. Yep. Okay. So if I go to my sales by services, and I hope it's going to work. It takes a bit of time. Okay. Right now, what you see is the profits and loss. So that I can see, I can compare to last year with this little line. And I can see that, for example, in April, I'm just balanced. But in May, I have got out more than I get in. So that's not ideal. Okay, let me just refresh this page. Perfect. So right now, we should be in the sales by services. So I have different kinds of services in this particular account. And I can see that for this year, basically the service I have sold the most is service number 1, which has no particular name, but it's okay. I have my Spanish to French translation, which is doing quite well. English to French revision, okay. English and Spanish revision. And then I can see that my English to French translation and interpretation services are not that very popular. Okay, I have not sold a lot with those services. So I could have a granular view of it, knowing for each month how much I've made for each kind of service. And then I think, well, as for me, it really helps me to know which kind of service I should keep on providing to my clients, and which kind of service is not really of interest right now. Okay. In my really personal business, I know that copywriting has not been good for the last 2 years for quite obvious reasons. I've been saved by a bit of translation and a lot of proofreading, which is also one of the services I offer. Okay, so this is the sales by service. So the number you see here is in euros or any other currency. How much you sold for particular services. They also have the quantity by services, because we all know that volumes are important. Okay. Right here, I have a Q&A for Spanish to French. I've done a lot of work for that. If it were in my own business, it wouldn't be that important, because I can see that I have not sold a lot, so I didn't get a lot of money for that, okay? Because this particular column didn't appear in the first report I showed you. But for English to French revision, Spanish to French translation, and Spanish to English translation, also Spanish to French translation, basically, I have done quite large volumes, okay? Quite the same in each and every service. Okay, That's good to know. Whereas, for example, my Spanish to French translation, English to Spanish translation, and servicio, it could be any kind of service, it's not that much. So I know I had big volumes of QA. I had quite important volumes of revision, translation in different kind of language pairs. But maybe it would be time to reconsider those three. And I just say it out of the blue, maybe, but in your own business, you have to know what is the big volume and what is not. When I translate a book, what is a big volume is really different than when I translate something creative, like a slogan or something like that. I know that in some cases, I will never have really big volumes. I work with a couple of artists, choreographers, and they had at the beginning of the year to create like big funding. I don't know how you call it, but they needed funding. So they needed to create portfolios and things like that around that. I got quite a big volume right now, but I won't have any after, I think, next month, because they'll be done with that. Okay. So it's also really relative to your business and really your specialisms, because depending on the kind of work you do, a big volume can be quite different. I know for those of us who work in maybe something more technical, medical services and things like that, big volumes would seem really humongous to me. Okay, so just make sure you're in line with what you do usually in your work. Okay, and again, you can have a really granular view of everything, knowing what you've done month after month. Okay, this is also nice to see, just because then you know that with some services or some clients, there are some months that are more favorable for you than others. This is the way I choose when I take my holidays. Usually, I know my clients are not really active in the middle of the summer months, so I'll take 3 or 4 weeks right there. I know they're quite active at the end of the year, so usually I don't really take any holiday at that time. I focus on usually books, not for the 2 last years, but usually that's what I do. And then for the other months, it's quite fluctuant, so it'll change depending on the year. Okay. So this is a report about your services. It should be help you get a clearer view on what you want to keep providing, what is not really an interesting service for you money-wise, and what maybe you should consider. Okay. What is important here too is know what you like doing. Personally, I love translating. I love proofreading. I'm not a big fan of writing, but I still do it for some clients. So it could be a good time to this big spring clean to just get clearer on what you like and what you're good at. And what you're good at, you could know by your performances. I know numbers are not everything, but they can be quite enlightening in what we're trying to do right here. So your performances is basically how many words or pages or lines or anything you can manage in 1 hour. You can get this report only if you time what you do in LSP.expert. So let me go back to showing you how it works. When you have your list of jobs, you have right here a little clock. If you click on this clock, it's going to start counting the time you're spending on this particular task. Then, when you're done working on that, you just click right here again, or you just click on this little thing and stop tracking your time for this job. So LSP will track your time anytime you use this little clock. And then when you're finished with a project, and I guess I could show it to you right here. I don't have a profitability. So you can see right here in my time tracking, I have no time. So LSP.expert couldn't make any calculation about my profitability. But for any kind of job I have timed, and I should find some, automatically the software will know how much time I spent, how much, well, which kind of volume I have treated in that particular time, and then I got my performances. So if you go into your reports, if you have never tracked your time for any task, it won't work, okay? But if you have, it should appear quite nicely, just like it did a few seconds ago. And then you get more information on the time you spend on your tasks. So again, it's not just about numbers. It should also be about how comfortable you feel on certain fields, certain kinds of work. I know that I'm really bad at technical translation. That's not my thing at all. I can do it quite quickly, but it doesn't make me happy. And usually, I think personally, the quality is not up to my standards. So I tend not to propose this particular service because I'm not specialized. I don't intend on becoming specialized on any technical field, except if it fits one of my main specialisms. It could be arts, it could be linguistics, it could be pop science and things like that. But if not, I'll stop right there. Okay. So right here, I can see that for English to French revision, usually I can manage to work on a bit more than 2,000 words an hour. Okay. For my English to French translation, around 400. Maybe some of you are up to 2,000. I don't know how you do it, but congratulations. And for my Spanish to English translation, it's awful, just 30 words an hour. So I'd better stop doing it, okay? Because I'll never get a client paying me enough money to spend enough time to get the quality I need for this kind of service I would provide, okay? And again, you have all the details right here that you can use or not use, depending on what you need. Personally, I know how much I need to get through in 1 hour because I have an hourly rate. So if I just go up this hourly rate, it means I'm not profitable and my business won't be profitable on the long run. So it's not good for me. So I stopped this service. Okay. I have stopped quite a few. I tended to do some revisions of just texts written in French, but by non-French native speakers. It took me too much time because I was trying to recreate the text, basically. So it was not for me. So I stopped that. It's the same for some services I provided really at the start of my career, like business guidance, because I had quite an extensive knowledge of foreign markets. I didn't really love it. I got paid quite well for it, but I got too stressed and spent too much time researching and documenting. So I stopped offering it. It will vary all throughout your career. Okay, you can start doing something and then change completely. I think that's the normal course of a business. Okay, so that's it for your performances. Let's go now to the sales by client and quantity by client, which will help you know for whom you're going to keep on working or not. So your sales by client, you can see right here that I have clearly a top 3 clients. My client number 3, client number 6, and client number 1, who provide me each maybe a third of my global revenue for a year, depending on your goal for it. Then I have my client number 5, my client number 2, much smaller numbers, but maybe those are things I like to do. And sometimes I'm sure we don't all have 2 big clients. And I think personally, sorry if I offend anyone, I think it would be crazy to have just 2 main clients, even if they're agencies. So yeah, I didn't say from the start, but I usually work with direct clients. So I have quite a lot of those small clients, and then I have 3 or 4 big names that really get me my big revenue for the year, and the other ones I get a slice of them throughout the year. So this is how it looks right here. But for you, maybe it's interesting to keep those 3 and to keep maybe this client number 2, which brings so much joy to what you do in your days, okay? But maybe not client number 5, whom you thought was promising, but in the end just doesn't pay well, or didn't send you enough work to get on with. Okay, so about this not enough work, you can then check your quantity by client, and then you see the volumes. So right here for my client number 1, it is in words because it's the unit I use the most. So more than 400,000 words for my client number 1, then you will have to check and cross-check which kind of service you provided to them. Client number 3, big volume. Client number 5, really small. Number 4, really small. And I have right here otro cliente that it didn't even appear on my list of numbers by client, just because it was not that much. You could have on that list big volumes for pro bono work if you do some of it. So it's also interesting to know if you want to volunteer or not. It can be quite fulfilling. So again, you have to get clear on that with yourself. So this is a report for your quantity by client. And then you could see your profitability by client, because maybe you are quite clear on what you ask your client per word, per page, per line, but maybe you don't exactly know how much you make an hour for any kind of client. So it should appear again in small columns. And again, right here, what LSP.expert does is it's going to compute the volume you got for a particular kind of service for a particular client. And mixing it, it will be able to tell you that you make 60 euros an hour for a client, 130 for another one, and 30 for the last one, for example. So that you can know if you have to update your rates. I would strongly advise you to each and every year, just to make sure you keep up to date with the market too. If maybe you can offer some pro bono work for the same kind of client, but a client that can't pay. I tend to do that for really small volumes for artistic people and maybe really new companies who are just starting. It's always a great opportunity to meet new people, see what they're doing in their line of work, and maybe create new long-time partnerships. As long as you're really clear on, well, yeah, I do this for free, this particular bit, but then you know that you'll have to pay me this amount. And usually you'll see quite quickly who's serious and who is not really. Yeah. So this is for the main reports, but you could be also interested in knowing how much you pay the people working with you or for you, depending on how you work. And this would be the job of the reports on expenses by supplier. So right here, I have 3 main suppliers: my supplier number 1, Maria Gonzalez, and my supplier number 2. And I can see that my supplier number 1 is the person I worked the most with, supposedly, because that's the person I paid the most. So as I said, I also put my accountant in there. It can be misleading for many companies. I'm a freelancer, so it's okay for me to do so, but maybe check with your own accountant if it's okay to put on the supplier expense list other people than the people you need to pay directly for your services. Okay. So this is the expenses by supplier, and we also have the quantity by supplier. And you can see that, well, translator right here has been responsible for 300,000 words, which is quite a lot, but doesn't appear on my expenses for suppliers. So it could be interesting to know why. I guess it's just because I put 0 in their rates in this fake side of the program. Then I have my supplier number 1, Maria Gonzalez, and my supplier number 2. So again, cross-check the information on that and just see whom you're paying. Are you paying them well enough? It's always a good start for a conversation, which is much needed with your suppliers as well as your clients. About money, we tend not to speak about it, but it's really, really key in our line of business. All right, and then you might be interested in your expenses, just to know, well, okay, you got some money, you spend some money, and you can have a list of all the kind of things, not that you paid, but a really broad view. So I paid a lot in outsourcing this year. My general expenses, like maybe electricity, internet, and things like that, it was not that much. Office furniture, maybe I got a new desk, really small desk, really small chair. And then my marketing, I didn't do much. I just created new business cards or something like that. So it could be nice also to pilot your expenses. Okay. I think that's it for the report. So I'll go back to our screen just to see if you have any questions. Okay. Violence says, oh no, it's working. Good. Yeah, Rebecca. So earlier I mentioned that I also include my content who was in your suppliers. Well, it could be any kind of person. I have an accountant. I have someone who takes care of my insurance and things like that. You could have someone who does the legal side of your business. You could have your website manager. You could have the people in charge of marketing. I don't know. I'm thinking broad right here because I just have my accountant and someone for my insurance. But yeah, you could have any kind of other people working with you or for you. It's just because for me, LSP.expert is just so flexible. You can add anything you want. So yeah, so virtual assistant, project manager also, yeah, of course. Yeah, project manager seemed obvious. So project manager, translator, interpreter to whom you sent some jobs, and then anyone you'd like. Caroline asks, is there a way to look at the time you've tracked per day so that you can see how much time you spend on client work each day? Okay, so yeah, you can see each and every day, but there is no report on that. But we got some people asking for it. So Cedric knows. Maybe we're going to work on that quite earlier than we thought. So whenever you go to your project, I guess you've seen it, you can go to time tracking, and then you'll have a list of all the time you spent on each and every client day per day. And you'll have different slots if you worked different times of the day. But right now, we don't have a really broad report on that. I hope it answers your questions. Yeah, you've seen the list. If you had a report, it would be great. Okay. Well noted. Thanks. Okay. Is there any other question on the report? Or can we go further? I can see if Fiona is typing. I'm just going to share my other screen. Marketing expenses also, things like CPD, Rebecca. Yes, those would go into my expenses. So I didn't show you, I think it was quite quick. The list of expenses right here. So again, this is not my personal list, but if it were my personal list, you would have internet, you would have electricity, you would have heating, you would have my accountant, you would have CPD, you would have website provider, etc., etc. So a lot of different expenses. Fiona asks, is there a way to include clients paying in different currencies in the same report? Yeah. So they'll all appear in your report. So for example, sales by client, I guess it was this one. And you can have your search options and convert into your currency. And just if you have different currencies, you can just click on all of them. And then that's it. So automatically you would have all the currency included, but if you just want some, to the exception of others, you can do it. And then just click on the option to make sure that it will get converted. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So let's go back to the other side of the presentation. Look. Hi, guys. And my screen is right here. Okay, so when you've made time to review everything, you can now evaluate, meaning that you have all the data you need to make good decisions for yourself and for your business. So how do you evaluate? Well, first you have to know where you want to go. So we've just seen where you are, how you're doing, but you need to get clear on your goals. I could do a whole set of 10 webinars about goal setting and how to manage your expectations and other people's expectations and things like that. I won't have time to do it today. So try and know for yourself for now what you want to do, how you want to, well, the rest of this year to go. Okay. So think about, we are basically half this year, yeah, and we have another half we have to live through, okay, with hopefully some vacations, some nice projects, some new clients, and things like that. So if we had a magic wand and lived in a wonderful world full of fantasy and really nice things, we would have only projects that we love, that we are good at, that we get enough volume of, and that bring us enough money to keep on living quite comfortably, I hope. But reality check, you not knowing that nothing is perfect, ever. So we always have those clients we love, those projects we love, and then some things we like a bit less, but are still important for the balance of our business, okay? As long as you don't forget that those are not your priorities and should not make up for the most time in your schedule, it's okay. If you just fill up your agenda with things you don't like, for people you don't like or respect or really enjoy working with, you're going to end up really dreadfully because that's depressing. And depression is not something we started working for. Okay. So I hope if your schedule is just filled with things you're not interested in, and don't make you feel fulfilled professionally, I hope you just clear some space to make sure you can put something you really like in there. And I know it can be hard. It's the subject of another webinar of mine. But I think it's really, really, really important for us to find this right life-work balance. Okay. So maybe an exercise for you to do a bit later is this little thing. So you've had some time or taken some time to review your business. So to see your list of clients, to see your list of providers, to check your list of jobs, maybe your expenses, maybe what you got this year already. And I think it would be really nice for you to just create this kind of board where you can pinpoint the one service you love the most, the one client you love the most, the one partner you love the most. Then pinpoint the one service you're really good at and feel really at ease with. Same for the client, same for the partner. So being really good at a client or a partner is having a really good communication with them, I think. And it could be just having a nice relationship with them. Because again, we're people working with people and for people. And so just communicating right is always nice. I know personally, I try and never work with a client who doesn't align with my values. If I have anyone who's the slightest homophobic, racist, just hyper capitalist, it won't work with me. So I say sorry, but I'm not the translator for you. Maybe I could recommend you to some other colleagues who have different values, and that's it. That's just for me. You work as you want, right? Then in terms of volumes, and for this, you really have clear reports on that. Biggest service, biggest client, biggest partner. And then in terms of money, and again, you can go back to your reports for that. Biggest service, biggest client, biggest partner. If you have any name coming up in the 4 lines, bingo, that's your dream service, client, and or partner. Okay. If it is something that appears in 3 of those boxes, brilliant. If it's 2, start thinking. If it's just 1, you really need reconsidering. Okay. And start to align those 4 elements. And I guess even as I speak right now, you started thinking about that and you're already like, oh yeah, client number 3, I really like, but I didn't do anything for them this year. Well, if it's that case, just get in touch with that client right now and ask them if they're doing okay. It could be maybe their birthday in 1 week or two. You could just send them a little email to remind them that you exist. Things like that, okay? So try on just thinking about this. And from this little matrix, I do it several times a year, and it really helps me pilot what I'm doing and prioritizing who I'm going to contact and what I'm going to do for the rest of the year. Okay. So this is my little advice. And then when you're done, you can just clean up. And just clean up can be quite hard. You can see right there that this poor person is going to try to suck up some confettis, which is quite hard. Cleaning up your business can be quite daunting too. Okay, so please don't feel desperate. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that could help to really manage it better and to make space for what matters. And this particular sentence is something I really tend to go back to. Just because making space for what matters is valuable in any kind of thing you might think about. Basically, you need to make space in your schedule. You need to make space physically in your office. You need to make space in your management system. You need to make space in your head to have time to get creative, to do a good job. Making space is something we have to do all the time. Okay, so we'll try and do so by, first of all, getting clearer space on LSP.expert. So if you go back to your system, and I just switch screen again. Yep, this one. Sorry. So if you go back to your LSP.expert, and just like me, you've got a list that goes on and on and on for pages and pages of jobs, of clients, and or of partners. Okay, let's start by just cleaning that up. Okay, maybe just keep right there only what is in progress or on hold or that you just created. Okay, everything that has been invoiced, for example, doesn't need to appear here. So just to make sure that it doesn't appear, I don't know if you ever noticed that right there, you have active and archived. If I click on archived right now, I just have a few jobs, but I could archive all of it. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to search my jobs with the status just invoiced or cancelled. Search it. Then I have a whole list of jobs that shouldn't be appearing there because I'm completely done with those, okay? So what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to choose each and every one of them, and I could go through several pages at the same time, go back up, archive the selected jobs. And right now, if I just reset my research, I'm going to have on my list only right now the jobs that still need invoicing or that I'm still working on or will start to work on a bit later. And I don't know if you have noticed, but it will also change the numbers up there. So if you've been a client for some time and then got confronted to this line, it can be quite confusing if you've never archived everything, because it would say that ongoing jobs is for a lot much more money than you thought. Same for finished jobs. So this will work only with what is appearing right here. Okay, so if you need to archive more, you can still do so. And if you need to de-archive something, you just go to the archive thing, and maybe my complex job is finished, but I didn't want to archive it. I just select it, unarchive, and that's it. Right now, it's going to appear again on my list right here. Okay, so this works for the jobs. It works for the groups. It works for the people. It works for the quotes. It works for any part of your accounting. Okay. So that's super useful for me to get really clear on what you still need to do and not have pages and pages of things you've done and could just clear your mind off. Okay. So this is the first thing I wanted to show you. Another thing is that you will want to simplify your life by making anything that can be automatic. So, for example, right now, what I did now, just searching some jobs because I'm just interested in the jobs that are invoiced or cancelled. Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but you have right here a little save filter thing. If I tend not to archive my jobs day by day and just at the end of the month do it, I could, month after month, just create this research, or I could just save my filter, yep, and create a filter that will be called to archive. And then right here, from now on, I'll have a filter with only the job that needs archiving. And if I just want to go to the overall view, I go back to view all. Okay. And again, you can do this for the jobs, the people, the quotes, and the accounting sections. And you can manage, if you ever need to do so, in your settings, you will have your filters right there. And you have the filters for all of this. Okay. You can also have filters for the reports, which is quite useful. I like to have reports on particular sections of my jobs and particular clients. Maybe you'd like to do so too. Yeah. So you can do it for each and every one of these categories. And right now I was on the jobs and have new filters about this. Okay. So that's how the filtering can work. Another thing that could help you is having labels on your clients. So if when you do a research right here, for example, so in the search, if those categories, those criteria don't fit your searches quite well enough, you could add a label. So you could have a list of labels right here. Right now, I just have one label, confidential. When I have a job that is really quite confidential or a client I can't talk about with my colleagues so that I couldn't outsource quite easily what I do. So adding a label is quite simple again. I'm going to do it for the client so you can see how it works. Let's see my client number 1 and client number 2 have the same characteristic. It could be that they are small companies, because I know quite a lot of us work differently, where we work with small companies, big companies, just individuals. So let's say client number 1 and client number 2 are small companies. Okay, I could manage my labels for the selected clients. And right here, I have already created those, but I could add a label. So let's say there are small companies, but they are also, I don't know, right here it says prospect. I think it's good to know if you've not worked with that client already, or if it's a recurring client, or if it's someone you really need to focus on this year. Okay, so I would have maybe a priority label or tag, you can call it the way you want. I chose the color, add the label, and right now you can see that client number 1 and client number 2 are my priority for this year, and they're small companies. And whenever I want to search jobs or people, I now have the labels to see this. And also in the reports, for some reports, I will be able, for example, my sales by client, more options. If I have my client label and I want to know how many sales I've made for big company and small companies, I just select it and search. And then I have only those that I selected as small companies that will appear because they have this label. So again, I could say the same filter if I do this research quite a lot, and then I would be done. So again, create something that will automatically research the information I need. And the last thing that helps me have things quite organized is that I have favorite services, clients, providers, etc. How does it work? I'll go to my people's lists and again to my clients. You might have seen that you have some little stars right here. Those are interesting because if my client number 1, client number 4, and 5 are my favorites, And they could be your favorites just because they pay well, because you get big volumes with them, just because you're enjoying working with them. Any kind of criteria you might have. Right now, if I go to my jobs, create a job, you can see here that it's client number 1, 4, and 5 that will appear first because they are my favorite. So basically, LSP.expert will just display everything in alphabetical order. But if you have favorites, they're going to appear first. And it's the same for the services. You can see already here that I have Spanish to French translation and French to English revision that are favorite, and the other ones just appear alphabetically. Okay. Same for your units. I have hours and words. In my personal account, it's hours, but it could be characters, lines, anything you want. And that's it. If you don't want a service, a client, or anything to appear as a favorite now, you can just change it super easily from the list. And I wanted to show you that you can also manage your labels from there. You would have the list of all the labels for the jobs, the clients, the suppliers, your expenses, your invoices, quotes, and POs. Okay. So you could change anything right here. You can modify or you can delete. Modify will allow you to change the name of it and the color of the labels you would have. Okay. And last but not least, if you are a premium user, you now have access to the domains of expertise for your suppliers. There are some domains by default. Those are the ones that we have been asked the most, but you can totally create your own domain of expertise, which will appear in your suppliers list and allow you, whenever you just try and find a supplier for a job, not only to find the correct match for the language combination and the service, but also for the domain of expertise. And it could be your favorite translator for that particular client. Okay, so those two are quite new in LSP.expert. So if you've been here for a long time, never tried it, and have a premium version, quite new version, you could use it totally. Okay, I think that's it for this part. So let me just disable sharing and see the questions. Yep. So the time. Clients indifferent. Yeah. Yeah, so Fiona says she didn't spot the convert to my currency option. It's quite hidden. It'll be more obvious in a new visual version that we should talk about quite soon. Yeah, the pile of books is the volume. Well done, Caroline. So can I just check that job client still appears in the reports, even if you archive it? Yeah, and you could select if it's archived or not. Yeah, but everything appears in the reports. So even if you have archived something, it didn't disappear. The data is still there. It's just not visually immediately available to you, but it's still in the software somewhere. So whenever it is archived, it will still appear in your reports. Yeah. Gracias, Beatriz. Yep. Yes, Lucy or Lucy, you'll still get the recording. Brilliant. Work well, Patricia. Okay, so we're almost done here. If you have to go already, of course, you are most welcome to do so. And I just share my screen for the last time. So we can see where we are. Not this one, this one. Brilliant. So yeah, this image was for just making things as easy for you as possible. If there is some system to clean your house by themselves, well, we'll keep on thinking about that for LSP.expert, okay? So yeah, we've seen the labels, we've seen the filters, we've seen the favorites. So I hope you got something for that. And before we get done with that, we will meet again. It's just not you and me. It's you and your reports and your cleaning business, etc., etc. Well, business cleaning, not cleaning business. You could have a cleaning business too. But the thing is that it's a never-ending story. You will always have to get clear on your goals again, to get clear on who your clients are, to get clear on what you do best, to get clear on what brings you enough money to make a living, etc., etc. So you could do it just once a year at the end of the year. You could do a really big spring clean, just as I invite you to do right now. Or you could just say, maybe at the end of each week or the beginning of each week, you take just a couple of minutes to see what you have to do during your week. Does it align with your goal for this year? Does it align with what you want to do with your business? With what you want to do with your life? Does it leave you enough time for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for just not doing anything and just recharge and get this creativity juice back up again? Is it enough? Is it fulfilling for you? I think it's really important to take a step back whenever we can, to make sure we are still in this business we love, doing what we love for people we like and are important for the world. And so thank you so much for having me. Sorry again for all those technical troubles. If you are a new user, just in your trial period, please feel free to use code 22SPRING to get 20% off your first year. It only works for new users. Sorry for people who have been there for quite a long time. Thanks for being with us. And if you have any questions, feel free to go to the chat section on the website or to send us an email. The hello@lsp.expert is the general address, and the other one is mine, and Sophie at LSP.expert. So I can now stop sharing my screen and you can see my face again. Thank you very much. I'm going to stay a few more minutes. If any one of you has any question, I'll be more than happy to help. And well, I hope you got some tips and tricks from LSP.expert, and I mostly hope it got you thinking about your business, what you want to keep on doing, how you could redirect your activities. And yeah, I'll send you the recording as soon as we are done. Hopefully I won't have technical problem with it. If so, we'll have the French version tomorrow. So if I can see that there is any kind of problem with the recording, I'll just get the French version and try and subtitle it in English, so that it could be useful for everyone else. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'll stay one more minute, then I'll look really stupid staying more by myself. So if you have any questions, go ahead. Rebecca says, I look forward to cleaning up my LSP.expert. Brilliant. And let me know, well, if you have any comment or questions. It's the first time ever I've done this particular webinar, so any feedback is always welcome to make sure that it gets useful for colleagues. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Lucy. Yeah, completely lost my voice. I was quite sick, so it took a bit of time. So thanks for everyone who registered really soon, like it was in April, I think, and then came back today. Thanks. I can see that Beatriz had a question about deleting the test jobs or test invoice. Yes, you can delete anything you want without resetting the whole system. Yeah. Yeah, you can delete the tests. So you could also just keep the tests and mark those jobs as non-billable. So when you create a job, you get the job details, and on the, well, yeah, at the end of the page, you could just edit the details and mark those test jobs as non-billable, which can be quite useful to know, in fact, how much time you spent on your test, and include this data in your future work with that client. And Rebecca's asking, were you able to present? Well, not the last time, so I had to wait a few weeks, but in BP, yeah, I've been able to present. I coughed a bit. It was not that comfortable, but yeah, it worked. So yeah, and it went quite well. It was about procrastination. So if you ever get curious about it, you can get the recording, I think, on the website. And then I might even create a webinar about that, because procrastination is important. Brilliant. Take care too. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, I'm gonna get going now. I hope you have a brilliant afternoon, morning, end of day. I don't know, wherever you are. Take care and see you soon. As always, thank you so much for being there, and feel free to ask anything. We're always really happy to send you a response as soon as we can. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Thanks.